What if one decision in Washington just pushed the Middle East to the edge of a full-scale war? After U.S. strikes on Iran, a top Democrat is sounding the alarm, warning that this escalation could ignite a conflict far bigger than anyone expected. Is this a necessary show of strength, or the start of a dangerous chain reaction that could pull the entire region into chaos? Stay with us as we break down what's happening, what's at stake, and what could come next. Welcome to USA Latest Update, your trusted source for breaking political news, powerful analysis, and the stories shaping America's future. From Capitol Hill decisions to major global developments, we bring you the facts, the context, and the impact, all in one place. If you want real updates without the noise, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's big story. Late last week, U.S. forces joined with Israeli air power in a series of strikes on Iranian military and leadership sites, an operation described by some officials as necessary to dismantle Tehran's military capabilities and curb perceived threats. Explosions rocked multiple cities, including Tehran, and Iran's leadership suffered significant losses, with reports of casualties among top officials. Almost immediately after the operation was launched, Iran retaliated. Iranian missile and drone strikes targeted American military bases across the Gulf region and struck cities inside Israel. The intensity of this back and forth has alarmed diplomats, investors, and political leaders around the world. Amid this escalating clash, some Democratic lawmakers in Washington have sounded stark warnings. They argue that the U.S. military action, carried out without explicit authorization from Congress, is dangerously open-ended and could spiral into a much larger regional war. These leaders are not just criticizing the decision, they are calling for immediate legislative action to restrain further military engagement. At the heart of the debate is the U.S. constitutional requirement that matters involving war and peace receive oversight from Congress. Several top Democrats argue that the president's decision to launch airstrikes without prior approval violated long-standing norms and could set a perilous precedent. Some have invoked the War Powers Resolution, legislation meant to check unilateral military actions and compel consultation with lawmakers before troops are committed or expanded conflicts are pursued. This standoff over authority underscores a broader concern about the direction of U.S. foreign policy. Critics contend that without clear goals, defined limits, or a strategy for de-escalation, the United States risks becoming entangled in a widening conflict that could draw in multiple states and non-state actors across the Middle East. Even lawmakers from the president's own party have expressed unease, pointing to the historic costs and human toll of previous prolonged wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Biden era saw intense diplomatic engagement with Iran over nuclear issues, and while talks in Vienna last year had offered a glimmer of hope for limiting Tehran's contentious nuclear program, those diplomatic channels now appear seriously disrupted. The renewed cycle of airstrikes and counterstrikes has made negotiations more difficult and increased the risk that other regional powers will choose sides or become directly involved. Beyond the U.S. Congress, global reactions have been mixed. Some allies express support for decisive action against threats posed by Iran's missile programs and regional proxies, while others urge restraint, fearing that the conflict could destabilize neighboring countries and disrupt vital global supply lines, including oil exports. China and other world powers have publicly called for calm and encouraged a return to diplomacy, emphasizing the need to avoid a broader conflagration. What makes this moment especially volatile is not just the immediate violence, but the possibility that a single miscalculation could draw in forces far beyond Tehran, Washington, and Jerusalem. Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthi rebels in Yemen, and Iranian-allied militias in Iraq and Syria could escalate their own operations in response. Such developments would not just widen the conflict, they could make it harder to contain and ultimately reverse. Back in the United States, public opinion may also shift as news of casualties and the risks of prolonged engagement become clearer. History shows that American support for overseas military action can fade quickly if costs, human, financial, or strategic, become too high. Democrats who initially supported pressure on Iran now find themselves cautioning that escalation without limits is a risky gamble with no guaranteed outcome. For now, lawmakers continue to debate whether the U.S. should pursue congressional authorization for continued strikes, or instead seek diplomatic avenues to avert further bloodshed. Some Republicans, for their part, have defended the administration's actions as necessary to protect American interests and allies. The sharp partisan divide reflects deeper disagreements over how the United States should assert its role on the world stage. Amid these high-stakes debates, ordinary people in the region are living with uncertainty and fear. Flights over the Middle East have been suspended, global markets have reacted to rising energy risks, and families across multiple countries wonder if this conflict will deepen or if cooler heads will prevail. What happens next is far from certain. Each strike and counterstrike increases the likelihood of broader engagement, but there are also efforts, quiet and public, to pull back from the brink and prioritize diplomacy. Still, as Democratic lawmakers warn of a full-scale Middle East war, the reality is that the next steps taken by leaders in Washington, Tehran, and Jerusalem could define the geopolitical landscape for years to come. Thank you for watching USA Latest Update. If you found this report informative and valuable, make sure to hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to USA Latest Update for the latest political news and breaking updates from across America. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an important story. Stay informed, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next update.